Welcome into Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com. Welcome into the show, Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com. It is Thursday, 11 a.m., August 20th of 2020, so 8/20/2020. We got a big show for you today. And yesterday, some doings that we like to talk about here, but more or less set the table for the day in sports. Got a big Major League Baseball card. A lot of games going on during the afternoon. Already have a premium play released up on the site, rightwager.com. It is for a late night showdown. So you got all day to sit back, relax, and I wonder if I'll be asleep. I wonder if I'll be asleep by the time it finishes. Hopefully, I'll be awake and certainly trying to cash some of those tickets in. But welcome in. If you haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button below, turn the notifications on. I should have a free play video out today since, my day slows down on Thursdays. I had so much to do yesterday. Kicked off a new NFL show on sportsbookreview.com. You guys know I do the Major League Baseball show on sportsbookreview.com and also do this morning show. Try to kick out some videos for Pub Sports Radio. But today I do want to make sure I get out a free play video. There's some pretty good stuff to look, pretty good stuff to look at tonight in Major League Baseball that we could chew on, make some money on. But I do have a premium play out, and just goes to show you, by the way, guys, the way of handicapping and doing it the right way and taking it slow and slow always wins the race. You guys know what I preach. Yesterday, I did have a premium play out on the Atlanta Braves and the Washington Nationals game. That play was rained out. There were two games I still liked later on tonight, but I thought to myself, and this is the correct way of thinking when you are a gambler and when people depend on you to win money, the best play of the day was canceled. You don't just move it down the list and say, well, this is the play that would have taken this place's play. Because you know what? Both of the plays that I was looking at later on last night was rooting for them, hoping they would win because some of the numbers would match up correctly, but they both lost. That was the Arizona Diamondbacks team total and also the Angels team total. So if we just did one of those, hey, just let it fire and split the difference and do whatever, that's not the way you win in gambling, man. Low and slow. If you take out there your best bet of the day, let's just say there's 30 games on the card, and every day you just pick your number one best bet. Two things are going to happen. You're probably going to win more than you lose, but if you lose, you're not going to hurt yourself doing so. Betting more games, adding up the juice, lessening the actual edge that you have in these games, that tears away from your actual bankroll. Less is more. I wanted to go. I'm 2-0 in the season on my premium plays. Would have loved to have made it 3-0 last night. Didn't happen. Turned the page to today. Found the game last night I was scoping out. Got the lines that I wanted today. Fired away, and we're going to win. And we're going to open up 3-0 in our Major League Baseball season. But some good stuff to talk about here on the show today. So why don't we don't waste any more time and get right after them. These are your Sports Betting with Donnie hot topics of the day. I might not call games. I might not be on an official radio broadcast, but I am on Twitter, Facebook, Periscope. Who else? With Twitch, rightwager.com, broadcasting live on, wherever you're watching. It's still a broadcast, and you have to hold yourself up to some certain standards here. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about here, Thom Brennaman last night made the major faux pas that you can't do. And in this day and age, you cannot come back from. You can't come back from it. Doesn't matter if you apologize. It's out there on tape. You're going to be toxic to whatever company tries to hire you again, unless you go your own route, do your own content, sell picks, and do whatever you want. Because I could basically come on myself, say any nonsensical thing I want. Maybe Sportsbook Review says, yo, dude, we can't be with you anymore. Pub Sports Radio says, hey, man, we can't be with you anymore. But you can always do things on your own. But a guy like Thom Brennaman probably has enough money. He's at the age where he could probably retire comfortably, but do it in a shameful manner. And if you didn't see the hot mic last night, it's Thom Brennaman sitting in the booth. And look, they don't go away. So I'm going to say like they were probably broadcasting Thom Brennaman since the Reds were in Kansas City. They were back home at Great American Ballpark, right? So he's probably just sitting up in the booth and shooting the, you know what, with somebody across from him. And I'm not going to say the word because, you know how it turns out, right? Oh, what's on the show? He's just, remember when he used bad terminology and language? It was a slur that he used, not a racial slur, but a homophobic slur that got caught on air, broadcast across during, I believe, the Reds, I want to say pregame opening. Now, he did finish out the game, or at least finished out a couple innings before he took the headset on and did apologize. And it was real weird because he's out here apologizing. And I think Nick Castellanos blasted a home run during his apology. He's like, oh, yeah, I just have to apologize real quick and keep going by. But you can't come back. When you fire those type of words out here, you can't. In this day and age, you're out of here. Unless you own the company and can say, I'm going to do whatever I want, you're not going to work again. And he knew it right away, too. Because when you heard the apology, he said, I don't know if I'm ever going to put these headphones back on again. And he's not. He's not going to be able to do it. There's no way the Reds are going to say apologize. Even though, look, I'm a forgiving guy. People make stupid mistakes and say the dumbest things on a day-to-day basis. But most of you aren't on camera and get caught saying it. Whatever your private conversations are that you talk to your wife, your mom, your friends, your cousins, your kids, most of those aren't on camera and taped. Where, gotcha, one of those things that can come back and bite you. Or if you sent a text 10 years ago to your friends in a group chat that comes back to roost. It's not right because, you got to take people on a day-to-day element of what they actually believe and what they don't believe and trust the character. But in this day and age, you can't say certain things and you can't say certain things that represent a company. Because if we're going back and I see people well, this guy said this, he's not canceled. We're going by 2020 standards here. We're not going back to what somebody even said in 2019, 15, 10, or 2005. That's neither here nor there. Because when you're taking a look at the situation with Thom Brennaman on that open mic, he's going to go. Now, look, 2011 is 9 years ago. Seems like an eternity, but it's really not that long time ago. Kobe Bryant let rip on a referee the same exact homophobic slur. Now, in the NBA, they didn't even suspend him. Just sent him a nice hefty check. I mean, probably fined him 0.1% of his annual salary. But they said, hey, look, you can't say that. But in this day and age, if an NBA player was on the mic saying that, you might be talking about a massive suspension, a heavy fine, and who knows if they would still be able to keep that play. You can't say these things. White, black, Asian, orange, green, red, brown, it doesn't matter. You can't let this kind of stuff rip in this day and age. And it's not even really about I want to say cancel culture, but you really just canceled yourself. When cancel culture comes after you for retweeting something or popping off a little bit, it's a little bit different when the actual slurs are caught on camera that you can really see. Because we can all agree going back to the Baltimore Ravens incident with Ray Rice, which took place in Atlantic City at the Revel Casino, which is now the Ocean Resort. He knocked his wife out cold on camera, and he never played football again. But do you remember the lead up to it before there was any video out? Now, look, the NFL saw the video. The Ravens saw the video. They tried to say, hey, we're going to work with Ray, and he's a good guy. But when you talk about it and say, hey, Ray physically struck his wife in the elevator, that's terrible. That's ridiculous. He should get a long suspension turned into now the public got to watch Ray Rice knock his wife out in an elevator. And that turned into the Ravens saying, we were going to stick by him. He's going to get counseling too. Yeah, we can't do this. We can't do this. Even though they saw the video, because it's public perception. If the public can ingest what actually took place, there's a lot more furor on the other end. Now, how about if it was like this? Thom Brennaman's in the booth and he's off air, but there's a production assistant in the back milling around, maybe getting a production sheet ready or trying to, set a camera or do something, and Brennaman doesn't realize it and uses the same homophobic slur. That's going to be read differently, where the Reds would say, he said, apologize. I was just messing around. I said something wrong. I apologize. The Reds would say, all right, you can't broadcast the next 3 games. Then you'll be back. Just make an apology. But you can't cover up stuff on the air. You can't cover up things that you knock a woman out on tape. You're not going to recover from that. You're not going to win. It's the same way when we talk about Tyreek Hill, who allegedly broke his kid's arm, punching, pregnant women in the stomach. But we didn't see any of that on tape. It wasn't out there. Now, yeah, we have a phone call in, but it wasn't the actual thing happening at the time. And 2 crazies are together. They're going to yell and scream at each other. I understand that. But if that was on tape, the cheetah would never play again in the National Football League. But since it wasn't on tape and it's hearsay, he gets a brand new contract and run around and everybody loves him in Kansas City, right? It's just the way it is in this world. Thom Brennaman is not going to work again. And quite frankly, he shouldn't work again. And I'm a guy that's always looking to find a way out or say, look, I'm forgiving. I forgive the guy. I don't have any hate towards Thom Brennaman, whether or not he directed a slur at me, you, or somebody else. And if he came on to apologize, I take him at his word for it. But in this day and age, He's not going to be able to get away with that and still be the front of the Reds organization or work for Fox or do any National League football games. It's the same way that I take a look at guys like Steven Jackson, who's a racist bigot towards Jewish people. It's not right. Like, I should never see Steven Jackson back on the airwaves. Hey, he wants to do his own podcast? He can do his own podcast. Wants to go on his friend's podcast? He can go on his friend's podcast, but he can't be on ESPN anymore. You can't be a racist bigot and let stuff get out like that and still be able to be a front of a company. It's not going to happen, and it shouldn't happen out here. You can apologize and say, because even times that we take a look at here and say, hey, here's what's going on, or what are we doing? Because again, look, Kobe said it in 2011. It wasn't acceptable in 2011, but we weren't in this day and age where everybody's ears are up, listening and making sure that we're doing the right thing, and social media wasn't as big in 2011 as it is in 2020. Kobe wouldn't be able to get away with that today if he was still alive. And I know Kobe, since it was going back and forth, even way back, like 2014, 15, trying to correct the wrongs that he made, because people say, hey, you said this. And look, I was wrong saying that. But a different day and age and a different time. And growing up, I was in the 80s and 90s. Like, that word that was thrown around, we didn't equate it with, being gay. It was just a slang term we used out there that a guy was soft. And kids in the 80s said it all the time. There's so many words we said in the 80s that we didn't think twice about, or the 90s didn't think twice about, that are unacceptable today. And you either have to move on with the times, or you got to get out of the business. I can't come on here and just, rip off racial shots and let it get away with and say, well, I remember when my dad used to talk this way because my grandfather used to have a saltwater mouth, as if you would say. But that's a different time. It's not acceptable to say things in this day and age, and specifically when you're saying things in this day and age on air and being a representation of a company. You want to do it yourself. There's plenty of look at the political podcasts. There's plenty that are on the far right that say the most crazy, wild things, but they don't represent actual companies. They're there because they have their radical followers and they'll support them and donate and do all this stuff. Same thing on the left. They say the most idiotic things, the dumbest things. They can't be a representation of a company, but they can be a representation of themselves and make money that way. You see it all day. The lightning rod companies that are individually owned by those people. You could say whatever you want, but Thom Brennaman doesn't own the Reds and just say, hey, guys, I'm upset. Major League Baseball is going to suspend me for a week, but I own the Reds and I still want to call games here. It's not going to happen. But in this day and age, don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot around a mic. Don't be an idiot around people that can hear stuff, but certainly don't get caught on tape doing some nonsensical stuff like Thom Brennaman did. Now, moving on to the next nonsensical thing. And I talked about it the other day. Fernando Tatisa's 3-0 home run pitch. Nobody cares. Nobody has a problem. And it's great for baseball. And he had a home run again last night. Tatisa's a fantastic player. He didn't break a single unwritten rule by swinging 3-0 at any time. Whatever the score was in any game, didn't break any rule that way, the unwritten rules. But he did break a written rule by disrespecting the manager, and the manager had an issue with it. And the only two people that should have an issue with it at all are Fernando Tatis and his manager, by saying, hey, look, man, if I give you a single, don't blow it off. It shows a lot of disrespect. If we're going to be a team, we got to know that we can go into the battlegrounds. You're going to listen to the signs I give you. We're going to be a team and listen and do what? That's the only point of that case. Nobody cares about he hit a 3-0 blast. I loved it. Boom, way out into the seats. Damn, this kid's really good. But after the game, when it came out, hey, you blew off my signal. Why'd you do that? That's where the issue comes up. Now, the issue comes up today with Trevor Bauer, always back in the news. And it seems with Trevor Bauer, he's an elite talent. You don't get to be a Major League Baseball player or pitcher. Some guys get there with extreme talent, have a cup of coffee for 2 or 3 games and never to be heard from again or called up in September. You have to be an elite athlete to be a Major League pitcher for at least a few years in Major League Baseball. He has a great start to the season. Nobody's questioning Trevor Bauer and his pure talent. The one thing that you question about Trevor Bauer is, does he have a screw loose in his head at times? And he does. I mean, you saw in Cleveland the issues he had, the teammates that didn't like him, always upsetting the locker room. Terry Francona might be the nicest guy in baseball. He's a manager for the Philadelphia Phillies, then get some talent with the Red Sox, win some World Series. One of the nicest guys overall in the game is his manager in Cleveland, and he comes out to take you out. Instead of handing the baseball to you, he fires it 300 feet over the center field fence. We've all seen that stuff here. But the problem where Trevor Bauer continues to get in trouble with is, I don't care if guys are brash and bashing, but, well, he harassed that young girl in college a couple years ago, and that was wrong, and she was crying, and it ruined her life. Well, I'm of the opinion of Trevor Bauer and who's ever on Twitter, if you come at me, I'm going to come at you. I'm not looking for a fight on Twitter anytime, anywhere. And when the disrespect comes, back in the day, like when you just, gaining your ground on Twitter, you're firing back at everything. There's going to be a lot of haters out there because as you appear on camera and you go on shows, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose, people are going to be jealous. You're going to hate. That comes with the territory, and I've learned that a long time ago. But if you're going to come at me, be prepared to come back like I'm going to take a sarcastic shot back at you. So people blamed him for being a bully on Twitter. How could you bully a young girl? I don't even care about that part of Trevor Bauer. I don't care about the part where he's flying drones and cutting his fingers, not able to perform in Major League Baseball playoff games. I don't care about that. I don't care about Trevor Bauer is a really good pitcher. I don't care about that either. But what I do care about is the stuff that I see on a day-to-day basis out of Trevor Bauer, which when I look and I say as a manager or for, my teammates, like, bro, why don't you just focus here on our team? Like, we're trying to do something special here. We're trying to win for the Reds, which hasn't been done in a long, long time. You're an elite pitcher. Sonny Gray's performing well. You have Castillo, who's a really good pitcher. You have a decent bullpen. You have a lineup that can hit. You can make the playoffs this year and maybe do some damage. But you got a guy like Trevor Bauer who's on Twitter nonstop, and he's sticking up for Joe Kelly. And it's not for the fact that I'm a, sports guy and I like sports, and I agree with what Joe Kelly actually did deep down inside. This team cheats. They got away with it. Major League Baseball didn't punish them. I'm a pitcher. I'm going to punish him. I'm going to throw a rocket at some dude and try to bean him and say, you know what? That's what you get for stealing signs, and just deal with it. But you can't do that in this day and age. The same way in hockey, where if somebody shows you up after a goal, you can't just send the goon out there to drop the gloves with the little 5.5 speedster and pummel him and say that was the right thing to do. Old school hockey guys would say, oh, yeah, he had it coming to him. But you can't do that now. It's the same thing we just talked about with Brennaman. Different times. You can't fire 100-mile-an-hour baseballs at people's heads because Major League Baseball didn't punish a certain team enough. So Joe Kelly gets suspended for a long time, and you see Trevor Bauer with the cleats, which you saw in the headline coming in, or the thumbnail for the show. Free Joe Kelly on the cleats, and Major League Baseball says, dude, you're not wearing that. It's the same thing we used to go back to a couple years ago when Odell Beckham would care more about like the pregame shoes he would wear, and then would get angry when he couldn't wear a shoe that looked like, a Christmas present under the tree, that he couldn't wear it during the game. And the NFL said, look, we have a uniform code. You can't wear those. You want to wear them before the game, wear them before the game. But once you get into the game, you can't wear this. And he does it every week with the different sleeves that he has on his arms, with the visors that you can't wear, where they say, look, here's the visor you can wear in the game. Odell Beckham wants to wear some tinted green visor and then gets upset when he can't do it. So then he wears like a $250,000 watch, which he's not supposed to wear. You see these me guys. That's the reason why Odell Beckham is still not in New York and he got booted out to Cleveland. And it's the same way that you're looking at Trevor Bauer, who's still not in Cleveland and got booted out to the Reds. It's because guys like this upset the narrative in the locker room, but not worrying about their own locker room and their team. It's more of a me thing. So he's out here on Twitter saying, oh my God, we have his exact tweet. I don't have it up, but just to, summarize it, he was angry at one of the pitchers for the Giants for throwing at Mike Trout in like the 8th or 9th inning. Threw like one pitch in front of his head, one pitch behind his head. There is no place for that in baseball. It's almost like he doesn't remember what he tweets. So he hated that, but he loved Joe Kelly trying to bean somebody in the head or the upper body. It just doesn't make any sense. And then instead of just having regular cleats or something with the Reds or supporting his own team or doing whatever you want, he's got the free Joe Kelly cleats on, which a guy plays for another organization. Like, sometimes I just don't understand where some of these professional athletes' angles are, where they actually come in and say, here's what it is. And Ray's like, I like the cleats. I like it. Look, the NFL does it too. You get to wear your own cleats one weekend. If that's the rule that they go by, so be it there, So be it there. But I just don't understand where you're focusing on the Dodgers. Focus on the Reds. Get to the playoffs and win. Don't be a distraction to your teammates, because it's the same adage in the NFL when you talk about the whole Colin Kaepernick situation, where should he play? Can he play? Is he going to play? That's not really the crux of the argument. It's that when Colin Kaepernick walks into the locker room, your DB, instead of being asked about a game coming up on the Giants, he's asked about Colin Kaepernick. It's a lot easier to do. And here's always the argument. Baseball needs that for the younger fan base. Well, if the younger fan base doesn't want to listen to coaches and be really self-centered in the AAU mentality, baseball's probably going to fade off the map in the next 15, 20 years. Because look, I love excitement. I love base stealing. I love home runs. I wish these guys were allowed to take steroids every single day and GH. I wish they had a team doctor come in and just give everybody a healthy dose of growth hormone, where instead of their ball going 330, it goes 350 and leaves the yard. I would love that. I think it would be fantastic. I love the DH come. I'm not an old school guy. I love the DH in the National League. There will never not be another pitcher batting in Major League Baseball because you need the DH. It makes sense. And when they're trying to get back into play in the curry of good graces, they use the juice ball last year in Major League Baseball. The balls left the yard at an alarming rate, and it's awesome. We are a fantasy age. We want to see runs. We don't look every once in a while. It's cool to see a no-hitter 1-0. But if you're asking me, I'd rather every single Major League Baseball game every night be 6-5. It's way more entertaining. It's way more exciting than having 17 strikeouts in a game and either I'm going to hit a home run or I'm going to strike out. Nobody likes to see that. We want to see runs. We want to see balls in the gap. We want to see speed guys on the bases. That's what we want to see. And that was the whole argument, which people were coming back also with the whole Tatis thing is you just missed the entire point. Everybody loves a grand slam home run. Everybody wants to swing 3-0. But when coach tells you, maybe I brought up differently there. My coach said, hey, Donnie, take this pitch. You know what, coach? I'll listen to you. Absolutely. You're the coach. Take the pitch. It's now 3-1. As opposed to, hey, Donnie, take this pitch. Shove it up your ass, coach. I just grew up differently. Coach says do something. Hey, guys, got to run a lap. I'm not giving them guff. Teacher says, hey, Donnie, you got to do this extra homework tonight. I'm not yelling at the teacher. Manager says, hey, take a strike. I'm going to do it. Coach says, Donnie, don't take a 3-point shot coming down this court. Make sure you pass it inside to the big man. I'm not taking the 3-point shot. I'm going to pass it down to the big man. In football, hey, guys, we're going to run the clock out at the end of the half. I'm not the quarterback saying we're not running the clock at the end of the half. I want to throw for a couple more yards before we go into the locker room. That's all you got to do. And also the whole Tatis situation, again, we wouldn't be even having any issue with the Tatis situation if the Padres manager didn't have an issue with it. If there was no take sign on 3-0 and he blasted that ball into the upper deck, nobody would care. It would be a celebration across the board. But if you ever know about being on a team, the manager doesn't like to be shown up. And the manager's never shown up. Trevor Bauer shows the manager up. Remember, I was just talking about earlier, firing a ball over the center field fence with Tito. I just grew up a little bit differently with a lot of respect. And that's all. And you can have as much excitement as you want in the game, but you don't always have to be an individual. Like Terrell Owens, one of my favorite football players of all time, but he's an ultra selfish guy. Ultra selfish. Terrell Owens is more beloved in Philadelphia than Donovan McNabb is here. And he only played like 15 games total in Philadelphia. That's where we sit. Like, we want entertainment. We want excitement. I get it. But there comes a point where it's why Terrell Owens was on the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, and whoever the hell he was with. There's a reason why those guys don't stay on the same team. Same thing with Antonio Brown. What a great talent out here. But sometimes you just can't be me all the way down the list. It's the reason why why would the Steelers ever get rid of Antonio Brown? Probably the best wide receiver to ever play for that franchise, talent-wise. Goes out to the Raiders, signs a monster deal. He doesn't even make it to the preseason with them, and he gets canned. He goes to New England. He makes it like 1 week with New England, and he's still out here floating around. So, I mean, excitement is one thing. We can all get behind it and do whatever we want, but you still have to have some modicum of respect in all sports and authority. Now, look, it's not going to be like, hey, I want you to go out there and injure that guy's leg. Sure, coach, you're going to do it. Like you're in the Karate Kid, like Cobra Kai, sweep the leg. I don't think I should do it, coach. Sweep the leg. I'm not talking about that, but I'm just talking about the decisions where the coach says, you just show up in a baseball game. Hey, Donnie, you're hitting 4th today. No, I'm not, coach. I'm hitting 5th today. Deal with it. Nah, you're going to hit 4th. Coach told you that. Hey, Donnie, I'm going to sit you down on the bench today. We got this nasty lefty out on the mound that's going to face us, and I'm going to add a lot of right-handed bats because I know you're a left-handed bat, Donnie. Hey, coach, pound sand. I'm going to be in this lineup today. No, you listen to the coach. Hey, look, Donnie, you're a wide receiver this week. We really have an advantage running the football against this team. So I know you like to get your looks out there. I know you like to get 7 or 8, looks your way. You want to get a couple catches. I get it. But hang tight this game, Donnie. I think we're going to win this football game by running it a lot more. Be ready. We might get to you, but we're going to pound the rock. Hey, coach, go pound sand. I want the rock this weekend. Just have some respect. That's all. That's all we're talking about here. I'm going to be back in 1 minute here because there is an NFL topic that I really want to talk about. It's going to come on the other side. Rightwager.com. You know where to get your premium information, folks. Hey guys, Donnie here with rightwager.com, your handicapping home on the internet. As you know, we specialize in NFL, Major League Baseball, and NCAA hoops. And as always, we are 100% verified on third-party cappertech.com. If you are a gambler, this is your place to be. Affordable packages, 1 day, 7 days, 30 days, 6 months, and even up to a year. Also, when you stop by the site, you'll notice sports content right here with the live broadcast home of Sports Betting with Donnie. There is no better place to be in the handicapper community than rightwager.com. And as always, I like to say, what side are you on? You know what side you should be on. Well, at least you will find out if you do log into the website today. We do have a premium play in Major League Baseball up for a late night game. So we will have some fun and win some money on that. But look, when we see gamblers out here, and, you know, you can be the gambler that's flashy. You could be the gambler that has a ton of money. You could be a smart gambler, or you could be a guy that just likes to have a little bit of fun and put some money on it. But the ones that I do laugh out of are guys that bet the Bengals to win the AFC. Now, it's a $1.2 million payoff. So you say, like, what is that? Like, how would you get a $1.2 million? Like, does the Bengals have to go undefeated, 16-0, then run through the playoffs and win the Super Bowl? No, this is a bet for, I believe, I want to say 5,000. Let me just make sure I double check here and see if anybody even has this up anymore, because it caught my attention when I was going over a few things. Let me type this out. Let's go 1.2 million Bengals. If this even comes in. Bentley. What the hell's going on here? All right. Let's see here. That's pretty funny when it comes up. It actually comes up my YouTube here, so that's not helping me out. But let's say, I think it was a $5,000 bet. Here's this right here. Let me see. From this website right here. A bettor could win 1.2. Yep, I was right. $5,000. All right, so we're back off the rails here. So $5,000 bet. If you have money laying around and you're rich enough to do it, I'm pretty sure this isn't just like a college kid or a guy on his last bit of luck that says, you know what? I have $5,000 left in my life. I'm going to take the Bengals to win the AFC. And if they do, I'm going to pull down $1.2 million. I mean, there's a lot better things that you could spend your money on and do. Like, I'm talking, like, if you have $5,000, go to Taco Bell and get like 5,000 tacos, even though you can probably only eat maybe 10 of them that night, and then you waste the rest. That's probably a better use of your $5,000. If you had 5,000 and like you just rolled it up like one of those gangster rolls with the rubber bands, and you kept it in a coffee can, and you took the coffee can and you took the money back out and you threw it into the ocean, it's probably more fun than betting the Bengals to win the AFC. But Donnie, do you remember when Leicester City won the EPL? Don't you remember that? I mean, come on, man. Like, really? Like, if you had, like, why don't you just put it in? Like, because I like to go through all this stuff, but just being like, you know, family guy. Like, we got bills, we got mortgages, we got kids, we got wives, we got cars to pay for, credit cards, whatever, school coming up. Oh my God. But if you have $5,000 and you're putting it on that, it just really means like, I'm in Vegas. I just dropped like a couple $100,000 at the tables. I have a $5,000 marker left. Yeah, you know what? It's just like ashtray money to me. No, you know what? I'll max out my marker. Give me the last 5,000. Put it on what's the NFL board? Where's the NFL board here in the sports book? Patriots, Eagles, Cowboys, Bengals, Joe Burrow. All right. Hey, Dave, behind the counter, can you give me 5,000 on the Bengals to win the AFC? It's going to pay. That pays $1.2 million. Yeah, give me that wager. I don't even think the guy behind the counter. I think a rookie ticket taker probably can okay that. I think a rookie ticket taker with $1 million payout can okay it, because that's just free money for the casino. But hey, if fools are going to spend their money on stuff like this, go ahead and let them spend their money on stuff like that. And maybe the Bengals win, I don't know, 6 games, and maybe the Bengals get into the playoffs. Now, if you're saying like, well, look, this is the time to do it with a really bad team. There's no fans in the stands. I don't know. Still, it doesn't make sense because when you look at your own division with the Bengals, you have a rookie quarterback. When's the last time a rookie quarterback? I mean, not even Ben Roethlisberger. I think Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year that he was inserted, I believe they lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship, but that was a really good football team. So now if you're looking odds-wise, they're the worst, but you're looking in their division, you're going to play Baltimore twice. You're going to play the Steelers twice. And say what you want about the Browns. They got talent and they got a new coaching staff. You got to play them twice also. So guys out here betting $5,000 to win $1.2 million. Sounds like the dude that just had a stray $5,000, like he reached into his pocket to like leave a tip for like the valet. And he's like, oh, I still got this $5,000 in my pocket. Hold on. I'm not going home with this. Babe, hold the car, hold the double R right here. Hold the Rolls Royce. Let me go back in to the sports book real quick because, you know, if I bet 5,000 on blackjack, I'm only going to get a 2-to-1 return back or 1-to-1 return, whatever. 6-to-5 on blackjack if you hit it. I can go and play 30-to-1 or whatever on roulette, but that's not fun. Let me go out and just take this 5 G's and put it on the dumbest bet I can actually do in football. And I'll keep this here, and it'll be fun to tell my friends about it. More fun to tell my friends, like, dude, it's a $5,000 ticket on the Bengals to win the AFC. And everybody gets a good laugh out of it, right? Yeah, Taylor, you're right. There's so much damn money out there. It's crazy. Like, that's what comes up. And maybe you're just one of those influencer guys. Like, hey, you know what? Watch this. Maybe somebody will call me to do a radio hit. Maybe I can get on the local Fox affiliate. This story is going to get around because the sports book's going to leak it. Hey, this dude came in here and dropped $5,000 on the Bengals to win because it's an astronomical number, $1.2 million. Would anybody come in and be like, oh my God, like if you dropped $5,000 on the Kansas City Chiefs to win the AFC, the sportsbook's not calling your local Fox affiliate going, yo, dude rolled in here and just bet the Chiefs to win the AFC. Not happening. Not happening at all in that respect. But those are some of the topics that we had today to get over. But there is a decent little Major League Baseball card here, and it does start early. It does start early. But there are some games yesterday. I always like to talk about some of the things that actually happened yesterday in Major League Baseball and how it might roll over to today. Because you know baseball is a finicky sport. Phillies blow out the Red Sox, and the next day the Phillies can't beat said team. And, you know, Garrett Cole's on the mound. He's finally taking losses, which is amazing. Seems like I hadn't lost in like 10 years. But look at that. You get a nice price on the Rays if you were betting them yesterday. And the Rays are a really good baseball team. So taking a look at yesterday's card, Glasnow beat Cole 4-2. Baltimore bats went cold again, only scoring 2 runs versus Toronto and Roark. One game I did like on the card, and I did well again on my 5-pack for sportsbook.com, Savali and Brault. Brault was pitching a really good game, but eventually that bullpen is going to give way, and you got that bases loaded situation. I believe it was Domingo Santana doubled down the line to get the final 6th run in, but their team total was over 5. Looked like that was dead in the water. The Mets again last night with a 4.5 team total. They hit it at 5-3. Also, very rarely on the show, I gave it the run line full game -1.5. They squeezed that one out. But Kevin Hart for the Boston Red Sox out here with Jake Arrieta. Bauer, who we talked about, had a really good game, 5-0 win in that shortened doubleheader. The Milwaukee Brewers, I didn't have the balls to take this out yesterday, and it makes me a little bit upset. I gave it out on the show, but I actually didn't put any money for that one on myself because we have to go over 5 or 6 games. I'm not going to bet every game I put out. But I was like, you know what? That team total over 3.5 for the Brewers looks really good. Nah, Phillip Rivers. I'm related to Phillip Rivers' truth. Phillip Rivers, man. Rockies at the run line 6-8. Yeah, I'll tell you, like the Rockies. Did the Rockies get their run line last night? They did late. Look at that. Yes, the 6 runs. I was worried about that with Houston because I was always saying, like, you know, what's the deal going on with Houston? Why can't they hit? But maybe Coors is exactly what they needed to hit because they posted 13 runs in that ball game. I know a lot of people were feeling Lance Lynn as a dog and the Rangers over Paddock yesterday, and that took a grand slam. The San Diego Padres hit a grand slam every game. That took a grand slam in extra innings to put them in the total. And over the total. How about a shocker for that, man? You had that game going the way you wanted to, man. Man, 3 straight games, Ray. How about that, man? How about that? Arizona drew dead. I put a little bit of money on that myself. That drew dead. And how about Seattle beating the Dodgers? Taijuan Walker, 6-4 winner. Johnny Cueto, and like I can't figure out the Angels for the most part. I really can't. I don't know what their MO or motive is or whatever. They were 150 favorites last night. Johnny Cueto stinks. You thought that lineup would be able to hit. Decent weather out there in San Francisco. They stunk in that game, man. They were just pathetic. Straight up pathetic in that game. But getting back to some of today's game, you got an early action here. And let me just set the card and bring it up here on the screen so we can both look at this stuff together here. I'll take my mug off here and we'll knock this down right here so you guys can see a little bit more. We'll take down this banner so we can really open it up. Get a nice little stretch on that screen here. All right. So I'm looking right on the screen. Looks clear. MLB recap. There it goes down. And let's get to it. So if we're looking in chronological order, which we'll hit the date here so we can pop it up because we've got some good stuff here at 1 o'clock going forward. Tampa Bay and the New York Yankees, Curtis and Paxton. Now, Paxton hasn't been very good. But you'll see this line opened up at Pinnacle Offshore around that 126 range, now sits at 137. So line moving in the Yankees' direction. And again, the problem is, what are we going to get out of Curtis here in the lineup? Paxton hasn't been all that good. Is this one of those games where the Yankees just steal because of 1 o'clock game? You don't get a great lineup. But Tampa Bay should be able to stack some right-handed batters. And then over-under opened up at 9.5, sits at 9 at Pinnacle. But you do see at least 9.5 at extra juice here with Chris offshore. But this is one of those games where you look at maybe a first 5 for Tampa Bay to try to steal an underdog, but even a Tampa Bay team total is something that we might be able to take a look at as well. Philadelphia Phillies here in a doubleheader in Buffalo. Phillies' first game in Buffalo, probably ever, right? Unless it was their AAA squad that was able to get up there. But Spencer Howard's going to be on the mound in the first game, 105, 7 innings. He's going to go up against Anderson. Look, he's supposed to be better than what he's actually showed so far, and we'll see if that turns up today. But it's no surprise that 68% of the early tickets here are opening up on Toronto. But look at this, 100, 111, 105, 104. You got about a 50-50 ticket split here in that ball game. Detroit and Chicago, Turnbull. You would figure Chicago White Sox would be able to hit Turnbull. And Giolito hasn't opened up the season all that well. 8.5 seems like a fair price. Maybe look at a total in that one. Again, I'm just spitballing right here, going over everything. So I don't have anything. The only thing I do have is already one picked out later tonight that I really liked. I added up last night. As soon as I got some lines, I put it out because I could pretty get a good factor of what the lineups are going to be in that ball game. Javier and Marquez. Do we get some heat? Do we have heat today? Let's see if we have heat today again. Now, guys, look at that, man. Look at that. 94, 95, 96. So even when that wind's blowing in like 6-7 miles an hour, it doesn't make any difference in that. That is some major heat out in Colorado. And I tell you guys, anytime Colorado gets fired up like that with heat, it almost doesn't matter who's pitching on the mound today. So we got the 11.5 out here. And both of these guys have been pretty good this year. So we'll see if that gets tested again. And maybe the Houston Bats finally woke up on the season and be able to do some damage in that spot. Philadelphia and Toronto, Velasquez and Toronto. This is the second part of the doubleheader 4:35 start. I can't stand Vince Velasquez, and this really upsets me because doubleheaders, I usually don't bet doubleheaders, but now I don't bet doubleheaders at all with the 7 innings. I would have loved to look at this game between Thornton and Velasquez in a 9-inning game on the second part of the doubleheader where maybe the bullpens have come in because both these pitchers probably could, and they ain't going deep, but in a 6-inning game, you just have to get the 5 innings and leave it up to your closer. In a 9-inning game, boy, I would really like to pay because look, this is a 7-inning game and it's 8.5. So do the math on that. If it's like a 9-inning game, you're looking at a double-digit total here easily. So looking at that over, I don't know. Maybe you should take it. First 5s don't pop up, so they really don't offer anything much. The New York Mets, again, we're just going to ride them on their team totals. A little bit higher today at 5, and rightfully so. Castano had some decent minor league numbers, but the Mets already faced him and busted him up. He had a nice bounce-back start his last time out. 9.5 is the total there. Eovaldi and Wojciechowski, you should get some runs in this game. But again, you're looking at double digits, and it's a big thing. We're always pre-shopping around, right? So you see an over-under here of 10, and then you look at Chris, they're at 9.5. It is much better to get that. Much, much better to get that and pick up that W if you end up at 6-4 as opposed to a push. Shop around, get the best numbers possible. I can't bet. I don't think I can even bet on Pinnacle here in the United States. Chris, I don't know. Never used Chris offshore or bet with them. Obviously, 5 dimes, points bets, New Jersey ones. I have accounts at all 4 of these accounts here and also at 5 dimes. But I do like to look at Pinnacle's numbers being quite a sharp book. Bieber and Williams, a guy that I do usually like to fade, but he's had a pretty good start to the season here. 7.5 is a total, and that's direct derivative of Bieber on the mound today versus a weak offense. 2 lefties on the mound, Kikuchi and also Kershaw. 7 o'clock tonight. We'll see if the Dodgers can bounce back, but a heavy favorite. Look at that. Minus 274 here on the road. Barrios and Woodruff on the mound tonight. 9 out of 10 tickets here coming in on the Minnesota Twins. But look at this. Opens 130. Now round to a pick 'em here. Barrios, he's that name right now, right? We say, boy, he's a good pitcher. He'll bounce back. Hasn't bounced back yet. And you saw the Milwaukee Bats open up last night finally. That total sits opening at 8.5 and goes to 9. And I believe that. I believe that's where it should be because Barrios, not his normal dominant self this year. Gibson and Lamet, I think Lamet's the better pitcher. And this one, Gibson, we do know is a ground ball pitcher. 8 out of 10 tickets coming in here. But it's just one of those things we just keep on letting it ride, like San Diego team totals, man. Why stop a hot thing? Why stop a good thing when it's happening? Gray, obviously a better pitcher than Wainwright. This line opened up at 25, now sitting at 45s and 50s across the board, and an 8 as a total in that one. Dueling lefties, 921, 922 between Young and Manea. You know, it's kind of interesting sometimes you get in those Oakland, but just no runs yesterday. Arizona couldn't get anything going. But look, opens up at 45, now sits at 39. But that prevailing number is still in that 140 range, 9s and 8.5. Suarez and Guzman late at night out west. 6 out of 10 tickets coming in here on San Francisco. Pinnacle actually opened up as a minus 125 favorite. I'm not too sure if that meant because it was Suarez on the mound or they had another pitcher going and Suarez is going to get bumped into the starting lineup tonight. But that number has shifted over to the San Francisco Giants. So that's the Major League Baseball card for today. Should be some winners that we can chew on. Already have one, as I said, put out tonight. And we'll see if we can knock it around. The Truth Aaron says, look there, Angels not hitting fade, pitching not winning for games, just innings. Yeah, I don't know, man. That lineup, I thought it would do at least some damage last night against Cueto. They couldn't do a damn thing here. Quarantine NL teams hitting big numbers with the DH. I love the DH, and I hope it stays around. And it seems like, yes, these teams that are, sitting out, hanging out, waiting, or putting up some damn numbers. Angels are a sad organization. They got money. They're just not invested in all the right places. Big money Rendon, spend a lot of money to go hit Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, you want him because you want that Asian market to tune into LA, big Asian market out there. They want that to make money. I understand that. Mike Trout, biggest contract of all time in Major League Baseball. You just got to get that pitching together. It's a shame that Mike Trout, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, wasting an organization, wasting a talent. Mike Trout chose to sign there. So he was the one that wanted that big money. He wanted to be the second fiddle in Los Angeles. That's how he plays well. He's comfortable. And if he's comfortable with that, I'm good with it. But I don't feel bad for Mike Trout or the Angels organization because they signed the players that they want. They have the big pocketbooks. They don't make as much as the Los Angeles Dodgers cross town, but it's still an LA market. They still got a big money owner. Just need to spend the money in the right places to see if they can come up and get a title, or at least forget about even a title. Just get Mike Trout into the playoffs. Like this year is built for Mike Trout to get into the playoffs. He didn't get into the playoffs this year with the expanded playoffs. I don't think he's ever going to get into the playoffs, man. And that's a shame of it. So that'll do it for the show today. 42 minutes in. I got a busy day ahead of me. Next up, 1:30 p.m., SBRodds.com sportsbook review. We're going to do the Major League Baseball show, both myself and Jason Radowitz. So tune into that. And also, if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button down below. 420 people have done it on YouTube so far. And thank you for tuning in on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, and also on rightwager.com. Be back tomorrow again, and it's a Friday show. Can't wait for that, 11 a.m. right here on Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by rightwager.com.